All right, so when we are looking at these functions, the first thing I want to talk about is the y equals f of x, okay? So we have, this is what a function looks like. When you write it as f of x, that's the function form. But you have basically an input and an output. Your input is the stuff inside your parentheses, the x values. That's what you put into a function, and then what you get out of it is that y value, so that's your output. And so the first few is just giving us find the value of this function when x equals 0, and we're basically just going to look at the graph. You don't have to copy that graph down. So if I'm looking at my graph, if I'm finding number 1, f of 0, that means I want to find the ordered pair where my x value is 0, and the answer to that is going to be whatever the y value is. So do we see the ordered pair that has an x of 0? What would the y value be then? 5. So guess what f of 0 is? 5. Does that make a little bit of sense? Whatever's in the parenthesis is the x value that you're looking for in your ordered pair, and it's going to be equal to whatever that y value is, because f of x is equal to y. Okay, the x value is inside the parenthesis, the y is what it's equal to. So if you will, go ahead and do 2 and 3. We're finding the value of f of 1, and then finding the value of f of 2. So find the ordered pair that has an x value of 1. Whatever that ordered pair's y value is what f of 1 is equal to. And then you're going to find the value of your function when x is 2. So we're looking for the ordered pair where our x is 2, and that is going to be equal to whatever the y value is for that ordered pair. And if just for your notes' sake, if you actually look back at your notes to study, instead of copying the graph, you could just maybe write down the ordered pairs if you want to have something there to let you know where you get it from. I'm not saying you have to, but your notes are for use and whatever you would like to write down. So if I'm looking for f of 1, well, for the ordered pair where my x is 1, what would the y value be there? For the ordered pair where x is 1, what's the y value in that ordered pair? 2. Okay. And then finding f of 2, we're looking for the ordered pair where x is 2. And the answer is going to be whatever the y value is for that ordered pair. What would it be? 1. Everybody kind of getting the idea? Now, 4 is the same. What's different about it then? What's the graph about it? A 4. So basically what that means is 4 times whatever the value of f of 3 is. So what we want to do first is we want to find the ordered pair where x is 3. What is the y value when x is 3? 2. And all we're going to do is take and multiply that 2 by 4, which would give me a final value of 8. Okay, that 4 in front is just telling me to multiply that y value by 4. And then number 5 is asking me to find x such that f of x is equal to 10. So if I'm looking, this 10 is going to be which value in my ordered pair? The y. So what I want to look for now is look for the ordered pair that has a y value of 10, and x would be whatever the x value is in the ordered pair. Does everybody see the ordered pair over here that has a y value of 10? So what would x have to be? 5. Is that kind of okay? Not real hard, right? All right, try those. Different graph, so different values. what is f of negative 1? What is the y value when x is negative 1? 2. Okay. What about f of 0? What is that? 1. And 3 times f of 2? Negative 21. Yep. And then what is x when f of x is equal to 0? 1. Anybody have any questions there? Okay. All right, so that's going to be the first part of what we're doing. And then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you some functions, like f of x equals x squared plus 3 or something, I don't know. And then I'll give you a couple functions, and we're going to find the value of the functions when x equals a certain number. Okay, so first of all, your 3 functions that we're going to be using are h of x right here, g of x here, and f of x here. So you definitely want to write those down. You're going to use those for each one of the remaining questions. And remember, the different letters in front of the functions are just different names. Like we all have different names. That's just how we differentiate between each function, how you know which one to use based off of what it's called. Is it the h function? Is it the g function? Is it the f function? So h of x is equal to x squared plus 2x. G of x is equal to x squared minus x. And f of x is equal to 3x plus 5. So the first few, 1, 2, and 3, is just asking us to find the value of the function when x equals a certain number. So for example, number 1 is wanting us to find the value of the f function when x is 3. What do you think I should do with that? Plug it in. Which function do I plug it into? F, yep. So the f function says that it is 3x plus 5. So I'm going to take 3 times this number inside the parentheses, that's my x value, and then plus 5. Okay, what I'm doing here is using this part here, the f of x, 3 times x plus 5. I'm plugging the number that's inside the parentheses in for x, and then we're just going to work it out. And what would that give me a value of? 14. Go ahead and try 2 and 3. Be careful with 2, just because of that negative in. Make sure when you plug it in, that negative 1 is x. So like when you plug it into x squared, you're squaring it as a negative 1. Which function do I use for number 2? G. So in that g function, x squared minus x, everywhere there is an x, what number am I plugging in? Negative 1. So when I do that, though, because it's x squared, that negative 1 is going to be squared. So it's going to be negative 1 times negative 1, not just negative 1 then squared. And then minus a negative 1. What does negative 1 squared turn into? And then minus a negative also turns into a plus. So we end up with 2. And which function do I use for number 3? H. So h says x squared plus 2 times x. So I'm going to plug in a 2. 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So that gives me a total of 8. Is everybody okay with those first 3? What's a little bit different about 4? There are 2 of them, and what is in between them? The minus sign. So what I need to do then is I need to figure out each one individually, figure out what g of negative 3 is, figure out what f of 2 is, and then I'm going to subtract the 2. So first things first, figure out what g of negative 3 is. So we're going to plug in negative 3 into my g function. That's what I'm doing first in the red. Oops. What does negative 3 squared turn into? Positive 9. And then minus a negative 3 also turns into plus 3. So what do we get for that first part? 12, okay? That minus sign is going to come down. And then what I need to do is I need to figure out what f of 2 is. So I'm going to take and I'm going to plug 2 into my f function. That says 3 times 2 plus 5. 3 times 2 gives me 6. And 6 plus 5 gives me a total of 11. And so then I just perform the operation. G of negative 3 was 12. F of 2 was 11. So now I just need to subtract the G of negative 3, 12, minus F of 2, which is 11. And that gives me a value of 1. Does that kind of make sense? I'm going to let you try these. I just want to talk to you about in second, or each one for a minute. What's that 4 going to be done to the value of h of 0? Multiplied. And then number 6, it's division. So you find f of 5, you find g of negative 2, and you divide. If it doesn't divide all the way out, you can leave it as a fraction. If it does divide all the way out, you can just simplify it. And then number 7, you've got 2 things at the top. So the top part looks like 4, g of 0 minus g of negative 3. And then you're going to divide that by f of negative 1. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a few minutes. I want you to try all 3 of those. All right, number 5 is 4 times h of 0. So what I want to do first is figure out what h of 0 is. That h function says x squared plus 2 times x. What does 0 squared plus 2 times 0 end up giving me? Just 0. And then once I figure that value out, then I bring down that 4 and multiply it. And what is 4 times 0 going to give me? Just 0. Okay. So again, we're finding the value of the function first and then multiply the result by 4. Is everybody okay with that? Number 6, it is f of 5 over g of negative 2. So I'm going to find f of 5 first, not with a highlighter. So I'm going to take 3 times 5 plus 5. What does that give me? 20. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 5 is 20. And then at the bottom, I'm going to do g of negative 2. So I'm going to plug in negative 2 into my g function. What's negative 2 squared? 4. And then minus a negative 2 also turns into plus. So what do I get at the bottom? 6. Does that make sense so far? Does 6 divide evenly into 20? No. So I'm going to leave it as a fraction. However, if that fraction can reduce, I need to reduce it. What can 20 and 6 both divide by? 2. So that's going to give me 10 over 3. Is everybody okay with that one? And then for 7, it's g of 0 minus g of negative 3 over f of negative 1. So I need to start, put it over here. So g of 0 first. 0 squared minus 0 is going to give me what? 0. Okay. I'm coming to the side to do my work, just FYI. Then I'm going to do g of negative 3. So it's going to be negative 3 squared minus negative 3. What is that going to give me? 9 plus 3, which is 12. Okay. So that goes there. So I've got at the top 0 minus 12. Then I need to do the bottom, if I can talk. That is f of negative 1. So I'm going to plug in negative 1 into my f function. So 3 times negative 1 plus 5. That gives me negative 3 plus 5, which gives me 2. So g of 0 was 0. That's in the blue. G of negative 3 was 12. That's in the red. And f of negative 1 was 2. That's in the green. And then we can just simplify. What is 0 minus 12? Negative 12. And then over 2 is going to reduce all the way down to be negative 6. Anybody have any questions? No? We're good?